Paganism doesn't have to be complicated. I think there are a lot of pagans that make things more complicated than they need to be. I see people argue over the best way to do things. There are people that will tell you that you aren't a pagan if you do not belong to a community in real life. There are pagans that think only traditional pagans are real pagans. There are pagans that belong to the environmentalist cult, and they will argue that other pagans are not real pagans. But you know what? None of these things matter. It is all fluff. Most modern pagan traditions are new. They are not the same traditions that could be found in the ancient world, and that's perfectly fine. Because paganism is about venerating your ancestors and moving forward. It is not about staying in the past. It is about vitality, philosophy, science, math, history, art, and making the world more tolerable for your offspring, while still respecting nature to some degree. There are very few pagan traditions in the modern world that have an unbroken chain going back thousands of years. This is just the reality of the situation. If you are venerating a god, then you should try to follow how things are done within the tradition that you are working in. Focus on how things are done in the present. Hellenic polytheism is going to do things differently from Norse paganism or Shintoism. But I think this is all that really matters when it comes to paganism. You are trying to invoke a god, some spirits, or your ancestors. You are trying to make a connection with somebody or something that you feel a connection with. This is paganism at its core. History is useful to some degree, but we will never know what happened in the ancient world. History is always going to be educated guesses and speculation. The same thing can be said about archaeology. Archaeology is always going to be educated guesses and speculation. Initiation rites are useful to some degree, but most modern pagan traditions don't practice the initiation rites that were practiced by people in the ancient world. Even modern Christians don't have the initiation rites that early Christians followed. Lots of things are going to be lost to time when it comes to paganism, until somebody invents a time machine, and it is unclear if that will ever be possible. Pick some gods that you feel a connection with and venerate them to the best of your ability. Going down the historical rabbit hole is optional. Going down the philosophical rabbit hole is optional. Following initiation rites and doing what other people tell you to do are optional. I have never thought that religious leaders are more enlightened than other people. If we are honest, most religious leaders are just as clueless as everybody else. They just excel at memorizing texts. Religious leaders tend to be more about control than anything else, even in the pagan world. It is not necessary to make paganism more complicated than it needs to be. But you can if you want. It is a choice. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic day or night.